All right, today we're jumping into one of the oldest stories we have, the Garden of Eden, but we're going to look at it from a totally different angle. The idea is this: what if Eden wasn't just some paradise, but was actually the original blueprint for every sacred space, every temple that came after it?
You know, when I say the word temple, you probably picture something made of stone, right? Big pillars, an altar, walls. But what if the very first place where God dwelled on earth wasn't a building at all? What if it was something else entirely?
And that's the core idea for today. The Garden of Eden itself was designed to be the first temple, a place where heaven and earth literally overlapped, and where humanity could just be in the direct presence of God.
Okay, so to really wrap our heads around this, we have to kind of shift our definition of temple. It's less about the building materials and more about the purpose. We need to think less like an architect and more like someone from the ancient world.
So here's the key. In ancient thinking, a temple wasn't about what it was made of, but what it did. Its number one job was to be a God's home on earth, like a command center where divine presence and order would flow out into the rest of the world. And when you look at it that way, Eden fits this blueprint perfectly. I mean, the story says God literally walks in the garden. That's about as direct as communion gets. It has clear boundaries and a major rule: don't eat from that tree, which makes it a defined, sacred space. It's even described as the source of these huge rivers, which, in that ancient worldview, basically screamed cosmic mountain, the place where heaven and earth connect. And here's where it gets really interesting. Look at Adam's job description. He's told to serve and to guard the garden. Now, you might think, oh, he's a gardener. But get this, the exact same two Hebrew words are used later on to describe the sacred duties of the priests in the temple. That is not a coincidence. Adam was basically installed as the first priest in God's first temple. Of course, we all know how the story goes from there. There's a rebellion, and the whole relationship changes. But how it changes is absolutely key to this whole temple idea. See, when humanity is kicked out of Eden, God doesn't destroy the place. The garden temple isn't demolished. Instead, humanity is simply evicted. The sacred space is still there, but our access to it is gone. And that distinction is so important.
So who gets put on guard duty at the gate? Cherubim. And these aren't just cute, chubby angels. In the ancient world, cherubim were the elite special forces, the guardians of divine thrones and holy places. Their job wasn't to punish humanity. It was to protect the holiness of God's home. Their presence sends a huge signal. You can't just walk in anymore. Access now requires a go-between, a mediator.
Okay, so if humanity is locked out, what's the plan? How do you restore that connection? Well, you could argue that the rest of the entire biblical story is about God's long-term project to reintroduce a model of his home back into the world.
And you can literally trace this progression. You start with Eden, the original. Then you get Mount Sinai, which is like a temporary pop-up Eden where God's presence descends. After that, God gives the plans for the Tabernacle, a portable Eden, a model that can travel with the people. And finally, all of that leads to the permanent temple in Jerusalem, a more lasting attempt to restore that original ideal. Every single step is a deliberate echo of that first garden.
The very architecture of the tabernacle and temple was designed to show this. It was like a journey into deeper and deeper holiness. You'd start in the outer court, made of bronze, open to everyone. Then you'd move into the holy place, plated in gold, only for priests. And then, finally, you'd go past the veil into the Holy of Holies, God's throne room, the most intense concentration of his presence. It's a roadmap back to the center.
But hey, if you're still not convinced, the most compelling evidence, the real smoking gun, isn't just the layout. It's in the symbolism, the furniture, the decorations. The entire sanctuary was designed to make you feel like you are back in Eden.
Just look at these one-to-one parallels. In Eden, you had the tree of life. In the sanctuary, you have the golden menorah, which is literally shaped like a tree. In Eden, God's presence. In the sanctuary, the Ark of the Covenant, his symbolic throne. The cherubim guarding Eden's gate, well, they're woven right into the curtain that guards the Holy of Holies. And that idea of constant fellowship is represented by the bread of the presence, always there before God. I mean, listen to this quote directly from the source material. It spells it out perfectly. The menorah isn't just some lampstand. It's a work of art with branches and blossoms designed to be an unmistakable echo of the tree of life. Its light is a symbol of the divine life that flowed from God's presence in the garden. So, what's the big picture here? What's the end game? Why go through all this effort to build these incredibly detailed, symbolic places? Well, the ultimate vision is way, way bigger than just one building. You see, the point of the temple was never to put God's presence in a box and keep it there. It was meant to be a model, a microcosm of Eden. It was a training ground to teach people how to live in God's presence so that, eventually, that sacred space could start to expand outward.
In fact, if you go all the way back to the beginning, humanity's original job, that serve and guard thing, was to take the goodness and order of the garden and expand its borders until it filled the whole world. The temple was just a powerful reminder of that ultimate goal, a future where all of creation becomes God's temple, where heaven and earth are finally one.
And that leaves us with a pretty profound question to chew on. If the whole point of this sacred space project is for it to eventually cover the entire globe, how does that change the way we look at the world around us, and maybe how we see our own role in it?